Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss American Trading Corporation, and you are tuned in to our podcast entitled The Secret War on Cash. And for those of you who weren't aware, there is a war going on our cash each day, and it's been a war that's been building literally and gaining momentum by the day. I have with me my co-host, Chris Agelastos. Chris, how are you this fine day?
Doing great, just gearing up for summer.
Summer is here. Boy, we're being in Arizona, step outside. We are already getting dangerously close to triple digits.
Yep.
Things are heating up.
Yep.
And things aren't only heating up in Arizona as it pertains to the weather, but things are heating up with our good friend BRICS, the alliance that they call it, known as BRICS. They are capturing headlines more and more each day. Not in all the traditional markets and media, but it's out there. If people are paying attention to it, BRICS has been really making a big splash literally every time you turn your head. And this first article we're looking at here today, Chris, it says with BRICS, 2 new countries agree that they're going to ditch the US dollar. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a pretty aggressive title. And a lot of these BRICS articles, they seem to be, ditch the US dollar, not say move away from or get out of. They're just going to ditch it. And, one that's not a shocker here is India, talking about that. But I think the key difference here is that what they're highlighting is Nigeria, the African nation Nigeria, and India. They have actually officially signed an agreement, a trade agreement which in turn, that agreement is they're going to start dealing in their own currencies and abandoning the US dollar.
Yep.
And what was kind of impressed upon me as I read this and I was looking through the article, it is something that I think there's something symbolic about what this article is talking about. And what I mean by that is that it's becoming more formal now. Like we have been hearing talks and discussions and so forth, but now there's actually basically we'll call them signed agreements, signed contracts that are being executed. And it is something that is, again, we've discussed numerous times, but it's a gut punch to some extent to the US dollar. And it begs the question, there are a lot of other nations that are talking about getting on board with BRICS. How many more gut punches can the dollar take before something negative occurs? I mean, what do you see happening here, Chris?
Well, I mean, obviously the dollar has had a great advantage for a number of years, and we still have that advantage, but it is consistently slipping away, and we're losing influence. And like you said in the article, I mean, they say directly that BRICS has been out there actively recruiting other countries to join and convincing them to ditch the dollar. In another section here, they said the goal is to uproot the US dollar dominance. So that is their goal. Their message is, you don't need the US dollar. Let's strengthen your currencies. You don't need to continue to use the US dollar and help the USA. Let's help ourselves. Let's have a little bit more control. Obviously the US has weaponized the dollar at times, and with sanctions, like what we've done with Russia recently. Now, even just today, they announced that we're going to be imposing new taxes on trade with China. So these are ways that we can use the dollar as leverage, but other countries are, tiring of that. So, bottom line, the next few years are going to be tough for the dollar. I don't think we have to worry necessarily about waking up tomorrow and completely losing dominance. But at some point, you are going to hit that tipping point, and they believe it could be in the next couple of years. So I think it's one of those things people need to be aware of. Maybe the news will start talking about it when we get closer to the end. But I don't know. I don't think we're going to hear anything about it this year. All they want to talk about is the upcoming election. So they probably want to keep this, in the background. But it's something that people paying attention definitely need to stay up on, and contact companies like us just to get education and help protect yourself from what's coming down the road.
Well, and they've definitely done a fantastic job of keeping this kind of in the behind the scenes, all this news about BRICS. I
Yeah.
mean, you'd be watching TV a long time on a given day to find even a blurb about BRICS.
Mention.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting. You mentioned how the dollar and this whole development, the next few years for the dollar might be difficult. I'm sure a lot of people tuning in, as you and I both know, and we've talked about not only in this podcast, but outside of the podcast. The last few years already have not been easy as far as the dollar. And in the context of this conversation, there's two different aspects to that. I mean, we deal with here domestically the challenges and issues that surround our U.S. dollar, meaning inflation, the price we pay at the pump, the price we're paying at the grocery store, the things that are happening in our economy with our job market, et cetera. And then you have the global implications, which they're related, but they are similar, but kind of a different dynamic, but they are feeding into the same funnel, so to speak. And that kind of gets into the next article we wanted to highlight today. And again, titled under BRICS, in relation to what's happening there, this economist who is saying that the U.S. is sleepwalking into a recession. And it's an interesting way of putting it, but I think a very somewhat accurate way of putting it, because we are just kind of sleepwalking or somewhat just naively drifting along into what could be a very, very bad thing. And some of the things that they cite in this article is how our labor market is cracking. I think that's an accurate depiction of where we are today. Our service industry, how much that has slowed down. You really look at our economy as a whole, you look at what's going on overseas, you look at what we've been dealing with the last few years, and this sleepwalking into recession is very viable. And I'm not sure, Chris, especially as you're going through this article, I've talked to a lot of people, I think they're in agreement, like, I don't see any end in sight, or I don't see a solution to what I believe to be a problem here. Do you?
Well, no, nothing quick and easy. And I mean, that's the challenge here. They say in the article, this is a global economic shift that we're seeing this year, and that a downturn is right around the corner. So, right, that's like a huge cargo ship. You can't just stop and turn that on a dime. So there is no quick and easy way out of this. I don't know really if there's any way out of it at all at this point. I think it's imminent. And the main thing is just preparing yourself. These other nations are pushing to dump the dollar. You mentioned the job market, how it's been losing strength. Unemployment is holding near a 2-year high. You also have gold and cryptos, which are kind of considered alternative currencies, if you will. Albeit crypto is new and pretty unstable, but you have all these other things, and of course all the BRICS nations, pulling away from the dollar, right? So this is all pressure that's exerted on the dollar, which you and I have to use at the grocery store and to order our Starbucks in the morning. And this is not something we're just going to easily be able to reverse from. People definitely need to diversify themselves. I hate, sometimes people say, "Oh, well, you're so doom and gloom," and I'm really not. I'm optimistic overall, but it doesn't mean that you can keep your head in the sand. You have to diversify. Don't have all your eggs in one basket. Most people are so heavily invested into the U.S. stock market through their 401ks, and they just sort of set it and forget it and hope that it works out. And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. But you can't just ignore all of the warning signs that are out there. And that's what I'm trying to preach to the people that I talk to is just simply open your eyes, look at the facts, do what you can to protect yourself. Don't lose sleep at night over the things you can't control, but be proactive and seek advice so that you can protect yourself.
Sure. Well, and not to correct you, Chris, but you mentioned how crypto's in there new. It's actually, you and I, just shows that we're getting old. Cryptos have been around for a while now. I mean, I think we should probably know this. I think they've been around for close to 15 years now. Granted,
is it really that long?
I want to say I remember somewhere around 2010, maybe 2012, and it could have been even rolling along. That's just when it started making a splash. But I had the same conversation with someone in our industry here. We were talking about old coins versus new coins, and I've been doing this 32 years now. So some of the coins that I was dealing with back 32 years ago, those were new coins. Those are actually old coins now. 32 years is a lot of age and a lot of experience on a coin. But definitely it is something that is the last few years in particular, especially with everything going on with central bank digital currency, CBDCs, all the various things, the explosion of cryptocurrencies out there.
Right.
It's all part of this changing financial landscape that we're all in the midst of witnessing as we sit here and talk today. So, well, thanks again, Chris, very much. For those of you tuning in, get some gold for yourself. You can do that by visiting our website. You'll see how you can contact our company. www.swissamerica.com. Our toll-free number, 800-289-2646. Now is the day to be diversified. And as these things do continue to change, we've already been seeing some very healthy increases in the precious metals prices. And that is something that at the rate and trajectory we're going currently, that's fully expected that we probably are going to see that here as time goes on as well. So thanks again for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed to this podcast, please do so. And that way, when we have some more information like this to bring you, we can get it to you right as quickly as possible, get your questions answered, and make sure that you're prepared for what's happening. Have a great rest of your day. Chris, thanks for joining us, and thanks for being with us.
Yep. Thank you.